But that's rubbish, because it's actually faster, as I will now demonstrate.
Oh! My guts just did something weird, man.
The Audi TT has always been a sports car you buy because you know absolutely nothing about sports cars, or because your wife wears the trousers. But then this particular TT hasn't just fallen far from the tree, it's set fire to it, and then eaten the remains as a snack. This is the second TT to wear the RS badge, but the first that could challenge a Porsche Cayman. Or anything with four wheels for that matter. That's thanks to the 2.5 litre 5-cylinder TFSI petrol, which develops 394 brake horsepower, and that's 88 brake horsepower more than the TTS, and 49 brake horsepower more than Porsche's Flat 4. A mixture of quattro all-wheel drive and 354 foot-pounds of torque at 1700 RPM means 0 to 62 takes just 3.7 seconds for the coupe, as I will now demonstrate. And we're at 60. Splendid. Beyond 62 miles per hour, and the TT RS offers unrelenting pace, up to an electronically limited top speed of 155. Or if you spend quite a lot of money on de-restriction, it'll do 174. This then is a brutally fast car, largely devoid of Audi understeer, thanks to torque vectoring and better weight balance. But that isn't why it will outrun just about anything. It's how easy it is to drive. In a TT RS, you can simply bury your foot and you will get maximum traction all of the time. Come rain or shine, this thing will give you the kind of acceleration abruptness as you'd get from a cat on a hot tin roof. Honestly, it'd be easier to drive this in Gran Turismo than in real life. The accessibility of all that pace does come at a cost, and it is one that has ruined a lot of Audis. You know when you're on the motorway and you're doing the motorway speed limit and there's a car behind you flashing that's 3mm away from your rear bumper? Well, it's almost always an Audi driver, but it's not because they're rude or because they're in a rush. No. It's because their cars are so refined, they don't actually know how fast they're going. I'll say somewhere around 60 miles per hour, thinking that's the case. Not the 160 they are actually doing. The TT RS feels a bit like that. The 7-speed S-tronic automatic with 2 wet multi-disc clutches is another area where the TT RS falls down somewhat. In the R8, the gears snap so fast your passenger is almost certainly going to sue you for whiplash. But in the TT RS, it can take a second or two for it to get into the gear you need, and that's even in the more aggressive dynamic driving mode. Now, you could use the paddles, and they do work, but it's never as satisfying as a good old-fashioned manual. However, around town, the gears change so smoothly that you think you're in a Tesla. It doesn't just sound good either, it's actually very comfortable. The seats make long journeys pleasant, the Audi display behind the steering wheel is so easy to use your gran could do it, and just about every button is in a place you'd expect. Now this may sound odd, but one of the best things about this car are the air vents. Do they need to look like baby jet engines? No. Am I glad they do? Oh yes. Then there's the steering wheel, which feels good to hold and it's beautifully designed, and there's just bags of interior space, which makes it just more bearable for longer journeys, unless you're in the back. I mean, you could get a couple of chinchillas back there, maybe 2 small kids, but anyone of adult size will end their journey with a severe curvature of the spine and no legs. Still, it is a good extra space for luggage and shopping. So we have learned the TT RS is fast, somewhat muted and impractical. Do I really need to go on? Well, actually I do. Any shortcomings though are more than made up for with an engine note that just gets better and better as you approach the red line. You get this enthusiastic roar that's just more addictive than Skittles. The sweets, not the pub game. And the exhaust pops with such ferocity that it feels like it's going to rip itself apart. Try not to grin like an idiot, I dare you. And you can make it even louder by pressing this button down here, but I'd advise against it if you value your hearing, or the hearing of anyone within 10 square miles. For oral-based enjoyment, with an A, get your minds out of the gutter, it really does put everything else in its class to shame. Even the looks are vastly improved. The old TT was a bit wimpy, unable to punch itself out of a wet paper bag. So wet you could hang it out to dry, and so on. This one? Well, I wouldn't stare at it the wrong way for too long. The air intakes are bigger, the side sills are more pronounced, and the exhaust has these beefy oval exits. It also sits 10mm closer to terra firma for a more menacing stance. If the aim was to be aggressive, mission accomplished. In reality though, this isn't a TT. It's a baby R8, and one that you can pick up for as little as £51,000. It's also the first TT that I would seriously consider owning. So you can either write this car off based on the stigma of TT's past, or you can embrace the fact that this really is a proper sports car. Choice is yours.